So today, heteronormativity with a small side of literary analysis. I'm the supplier, and this is Sunday Book Stuff for April 26, 2015. So I was asked by a couple of people after the last video I did to do a review of Openly Straight by Bill Konigsberg. And can I just say, I haven't done a review in a really, really long time. At least a review that wasn't on a sticky note, which is what I typically do, and I've got an entire page dedicated to just the reviews on sticky notes. So this is longer form, and we're gonna see how it goes. So Openly Straight is essentially a reverse coming out story. Raffi, who is, among other things, happens to be gay, has decided that while he is grateful for his family and grateful that his family and his community are super supportive of him, he's tired of feeling like he's just Raffi the gay guy. So he decides that he's going to go to a different school across the country. It's an all-boys boarding school, and he's going to be openly straight. Or rather, he's going to live without labels. And he does, and he discovers that he enjoys being a jock, and he enjoys hanging out with nerdy boys, and he enjoys not being just gay. It gets tough to maintain the lie, though, and eventually Raffi's outed, which sucks. I totally get not wanting to be the token gay guy in his community in Boulder, Colorado. For Raffi, it was like being gay was the only thing anyone paid attention to in their effort to show him that they supported him. So instead of facing his friends and his family, he ran away. And it's funny because when Tracy and I were talking about this part of the story as I was reading, she said that a number of members of the queer community, and I'm using queer to be all-inclusive because it's an alphabet soup, they leave home so they can figure out their sexuality, and Raffi's already got that figured out, so he moves away so he can figure the rest of himself out. So he goes to boarding school, right? And in order to start, he goes to boys' school in order to start over, and my first thought was, really? This isn't gonna go badly at all. So naturally, it starts innocently enough. He's got a few issues with his roommate because his roommate's a slob, and he is not. He gets in with the jocks after he takes a football to the face, and then he joins the soccer team, and, you know, I like Raffi. He's a teenager, and I work with teenagers, so I see a lot of the teenagers with whom I work in Raffi and in the way he makes his decisions. So while he's annoying, I get it. I also like that he's an average guy. You know, he's not the best player on the pitch, but he's not the worst either. And, you know, he's not always the best of friend, but he tries really hard. So really what it boils down to is the decision to stay closeted and some of the decisions that he makes as a result of this active deceit make me want to pop him one. And admittedly, this is a feeling I feel frequently working with teenagers. It's like, yeah, you're doing the stupid things and I want you to not do the stupid things, and of course I might be projecting, because without this setup, the intended conflict wouldn't play out. So there are two things that I really want to talk about that aren't about how Raffi's being ridiculous. I'll talk about heteronormativity and cashing in on passing privileges, and a specific elements of characterization, because, you know, I might be an English teacher. I know that sometimes people get their knickers in a twist when we start talking about privilege. I'm not framing privilege as a negative. Diverse people also have privilege. I have privilege. You have privilege. We all have privilege of some sort. So keep your knickers out of a twist when we talk about this. However, that isn't to deny that there is an ease to walking through the world if you're perceived as straight, and Raffi identifies this I'm not sure he's conscious that he identifies it, but he identifies it, and I think that's the basis of his decision. Because while he thinks he's living label-free, perception, particularly other people's perception, doesn't work that way. He may perceive himself as having no labels, but other people perceive that he ascribes to what amounts for norms in the US, and I'm not going to speak for other countries, but norms in the US, which is, you know, the straight white male. So I think Openly Straight does a great job creating another space in which we can talk about heteronormativity and the privilege that accompanies it, and the consequences of allowing people to make assumptions based on these norms. So Raffi is one of the guys, but becoming one of the guys under, well, not really false pretenses, but kind of like through the withholding of information once friendships are established. He uses heteronormativity to maintain his status within his circle of athletic friends. He hears how the boys talk in the locker room, and he doesn't say anything. He engages in conversations about girls as though he is really a participant in this type of adolescent boy interaction. Well, I guess it's not just adolescent boys. Anyway, this male interaction, and while it makes him a little uncomfortable, he lies anyway to continue to benefit from the acceptance and the privilege that comes from these interactions. I think I'm going to have to take back my comment about false pretenses. How many teenagers withhold information to save face or to maintain their place in the social structure? Raffi's choice is a problem, yes, but his choice is also a symptom of a larger problem within the socio-political structure that labels him as other. As such, his experience isn't normalized within those spaces, which is really what it seems like he wants. So there's this sense that in his previous community, and if we're looking at it like it's a hero journey, in his other space, his real world, he is over-normalized to the point of ignoring other aspects of his self. So his choice, his decision has to be equally as extreme. And we can have endless conversation about normalization of that which is perceived by some as other. So let's do that in the comments. Leave them. So the other thing that I said I wanted to talk about was characterization, and specifically the foil. I love foils. Foils are fun. And it's not aluminum, okay? It's not the silvery stuff that you put on the pan so the fish doesn't stick to the broiler pan. This is what I did yesterday. The foil is a character whose actions and experiences are set up to provide contrast to the experience of the protagonist. In the case of Openly Straight, those characters are Toby and Robinson. So when we look at Robinson, we see a character who is a jock like Raffi. And we get to see how he's treated by his teammates before he's outed and after he's outed. He's set up to look like, here's what it's like to be closeted, and here's what it's like to be treated once you're outed. So the readers can see the consequences of Raffi being outed, but without Raffi actually being outed. We also have Toby, who is the best friend of Raffi's roommate. Toby's been out the entire time, mostly with little positive regard, especially from the alpha male of the soccer team. And so we can these two characters allow us to look at Raffi's decision with the added perspective of these experiences. And we can, or at least I can, I don't want to speak for anybody else, can see how Raffi would make the choices he did even though, like, I disagree with them. So conflict. Raffi experiences the conflict that I essentially expected. Conflict from lying, conflict about not wanting to stand up for teammates because he doesn't want to lose the privilege of being perceived as straight. And then there's the conflict of Ben. I loved Raffi's relationship with Ben. Maybe because I've had a similar experience and it's one of those things that I can read and identify with. And Raffi and Ben become friends after Ben's roommate leaves the school, and gradually they get closer, and the relationship is sweet even though it's built on the premise, from Ben's point of view, that Raffi and Ben are going through questioning their sexuality together. It feels really realistic. And then, you know, climax, and Raffi and Ben's relationship is tested. This is a straight up hero journey. So the truth surfaces, people are pissed, and things aren't tied up neatly with a little bow. I like happy endings. I love happy endings, but realistic fiction, I think it ends the way it needs to, which I won't spoil. I actually think that's all I really wanted to say, because I don't want to ramble on too long, but I would love to have conversations about heteronormativity with you in the comments. So, you don't have to have read Openly Straight to have said conversations, but if you do read it, come talk to me about it. Or don't read it, and come talk to me anyway, and I'll see you in the comments soon. Right? Right? Until then, I'm Supplier, wishing you happy reading.